Part 1. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Faye. Chapter 1. Chapter 1. Don't bother me. Jingle bell dash. A rapid ringing broke the silence in the room. A slender hand stretched out from the warm quilt and groped around. Pick up the phone and answer the call. Hello. The sound coming from the throat is hoarse as if one has not woken up, and the voice is lazy and clear, making people's ears itchy. Damn, you haven't woken up yet. Li Ju tried hard to open her eyes, but then the attempt failed. There are two things she hates the most in her life, one is someone pretending to be cool in front of her, and the other is someone disturbing her to sleep. Suppressing the urge to hit someone, she said impatiently, is something wrong? The people over there exploded when they heard it. Please, ancestors, it's already 11 o'clock in the morning, and you haven't gotten up yet. No. I didn't mean to tell you this, you still ask me if I'm okay? Where did you go the day before yesterday? Do you know that what good things have you done? Li Ju slightly opened her delicate and charming eyes, pressed mute without hesitation, and moved the phone away. After about a minute, put the phone to your ear again. Do you know that you have been seen by someone? Can you disguise yourself next time when you do something? Those people are looking for you all over the world. What do you want me to do? Li Ju tried to retrieve relevant memories from his chaotic brain. 3 seconds later, she realized that the other person was talking about the last time she was accidentally photographed by a passerby in an abandoned factory. Isn't it already solved? She said hoarsely and impatiently, what happened again? What do you think? Someone put the video online now, many people have seen it. What do you think we should do? Li Ju sneered, you come to me for this kind of thing, so what do I need from you? The person opposite choked for a moment, and then complained, boss, you can't do this. I haven't slept well for 2 days in a row because of this matter, you. Li Ju couldn't bear it anymore and shouted directly to the other end of the phone, I don't care what you do. As long as it's not World War, biohazard, zombie siege, the earth is exploding, don't bother me anymore, I'll let you know how many species there are in the world. Way to die. Then, hang up. Throw it away. Snapped. The phone fell to the ground and was shattered into pieces. As soon as the quilt was covered, he continued to sleep. The other end of the phone. At 1:30 in the afternoon. Li Ju woke up from hunger, reluctantly got up from the bed, held a chicken coop on her head, kicked off her slippers with one foot, and walked out of the room with the other bare. Downstairs living room. Mr. Li was sitting alone on the sofa, holding a book in his hand and reading attentively. Seeing her coming downstairs like this, her forehead twitched faintly. Woke up? Yeah, Li Ju replied casually, and then walked into the kitchen with ease. Mr. Li didn't care either, he was obviously used to it. My granddaughter is good at everything, but her work and rest schedule is unreasonable. When Li Ju finally came out of the kitchen after eating and drinking, he found that there were a few more people in the living room. She raised her eyebrows and was not in a hurry to go out. She leaned against the door frame of the kitchen with a piece of toast in her mouth, her hands folded across her chest, as if she was watching a good show. Ever since she entered this house, she has become accustomed to these people coming to check their presence from time to time. What makes her curious is what tricks they have up to this time. Li Ju quietly observed the man and 2 women in front of him. Wearing suits and ties, he is well dressed and looks like an elite. This is her nominal father. She wears luxury brands, exquisite makeup, and is as elegant as a lady. This is her nominal father's good wife. The one next to her in a fluttering white dress, looking pitiful, and exuding the peerless little white lotus temperament all over her body is her nominal sister. She originally wanted to watch a play, but when the 3 people saw her, they stopped talking at the same time, and the whole living room fell silent instantly. Looking at the different expressions of the 3 people and the complex glances falling on her, Li Ju raised her eyebrows and suddenly remembered that Mr. Li seemed to have told her before that the family of 3 would come back to stay for a while. Oh, no wonder the atmosphere is so wrong. Her cheap dad came to the door countless times and shamelessly asked to go back to the Li family's old house, but Mr. Li refused to let go. And she, an illegitimate daughter who had just returned recently, was able to live in the old house in a dignified manner. It would be strange if they are not angry. Li Ju clicked her tongue in her heart, and a hint of ridicule flashed across her eyes. At the same time, the 3 people across from her looked at her with more and more contempt and disgust. How dignified it is to appear like this in front of everyone. He is indeed a despicable child who does not know etiquette. Su Su, who was dressed as a noble lady, squinted her eyes and looked at her, then lowered her eyes nonchalantly to admire her new manicure, seemingly not paying attention to her at all. Li Hong, however, was furious and furious. Isn't it embarrassing enough for this rebellious woman to dress like this? What are you wearing? Li Ju yawned, her peach blossom eyes filled with crystal tears. Pajamas. It's so inappropriate to dress like this, it just stains other people's eyes. Li Hong sternly rebuked that although he didn't like this daughter, it didn't mean that he could tolerate her embarrassing him. Father doesn't have to watch it if he doesn't want to, no one is forcing you. You dash. Li Hong wanted to say something else, but Su Su grabbed his sleeve and signaled him with his eyes that Mr. Li was still here. Remembering that the old man usually liked Li Ju the most, Li Hong stopped talking, not wanting to make him unhappy at this time. Seeing that the 2 were obviously biological father and daughter, but they acted like enemies, Mr. Li sighed and waved to Li Ju. Xiaju, come here. Li Ju then put away all his laziness, walked over and sat next to him, picked up an apple in front of him and gnawed it. Mr. Li looked at her with a doting look on his face and said, "You have a grandpa birthday party tonight. Xiaju, please clean up and come with us later." Li Ju blinked. Settle down? Seems to be. What? Dad? 2 voices sounded. Li Ju didn't look at the stunned expressions of Li Hong and Su Su. He pondered for a moment, said okay and went upstairs. Dad, tonight's birthday banquet is very important, how could you let her go? Li Hong frowned and said dissatisfied. Taking this illegitimate daughter out will only embarrass him. Mr. Li snorted coldly, why can't Xiaju go? She is also the daughter of my Li family. A trace of disgust flashed in Li Hong's eyes. Is that worthy of being the daughter of his Li family? But Dad, Li Ju is an illegitimate daughter after all, and she can't be on the stage if I take her to the birthday banquet, I'm afraid she will be laughed at. Li Hong has always valued face, not to mention Angia's birthday banquet tonight is very important, and Li Ju must not lose his face. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 2. Chapter 2 Fell asleep at the birthday banquet. Who dares to look at me? Xiaju has already entered the Li family's genealogy and is my granddaughter. Who dares to laugh at her? Dad. Before Li Hong finished speaking, his sleeve was pulled. Li Yun gently tugged on his sleeve, a smile appeared on his delicate and fair face, and he said very considerately, Dad, my sister hasn't been out much since she came to this house, let her go out and experience things a lot this time. Su Su also said generously, Hong, just let her go. Seeing that his wife and daughter all said this, Li Hong had no choice but to agree. Finally, he whispered to Su Su uneasily, remember to keep an eye on her. Su Su nodded, a hint of sarcasm flashing in his eyes. The night is as cool as water. Angia Villa is brightly lit and extremely noisy. When Li Ju and others arrived, the banquet had already started. With false smiles on their faces, everyone exchanged glasses and toasted to each other. Mr. Li went directly to the second floor to find Mr. An. Li Hong, on the other hand, took his wife and daughter to greet his former business partners. There is no intention to control Li Ju at all. Li Ju looked around the banquet room and found a corner to sit down. At first, many people around looked at her with strange eyes. What she wore today was out of tune with her surroundings, and she didn't look like she was attending a banquet at all. A white shirt and black jeans, so simple. After all, Su Suchu wanted to see her make a fool of herself, so how could he choose a dress for her? Mr. Li also knew that Li Ju didn't like those things, so he let her go. Li Ju just sat there, leaning gently on the sofa behind her, with her hands folded across her chest and her eyes slightly closed, as if she was concentrating with her eyes closed. It was like being in two different worlds from the surroundings. On the other side, Su Suhan was talking to several ladies. "Ah Su, is this the illegitimate daughter of your family who came into the house? She really does her own thing." A lady saw Li Ju acting like this with deep disdain in her eyes. "Sure enough, you can't get on the stage. There is no way, Xiaju has this temperament. She has just come to Li's house and she doesn't understand many things. I will just teach her slowly in the future." Su Su smiled slightly, with a very helpless tone. After listening to this, the ladies looked even more disdainful. Sure enough, they are pheasant country bumpkins who don't understand anything, and they still want to become a phoenix? How ridiculous. I would say you are too soft-hearted. If it were me, I would never let such a person into the house, another lady said. That's right, these days, which wealthy family doesn't have one or two illegitimate children, but how many of them are so upright and upright? I'm not telling you, Asu, you have to have some tricks to be the mistress of such a wealthy family, otherwise if this illegitimate daughter comes in today, she will dare to attack your Li family in the future. The other ladies around nodded in agreement. Su Su smiled and said nothing. But my heart is getting more and more proud. So what if Mr. Li likes you? She is a despised illegitimate daughter after all. Master Li, I heard that you have recognized a daughter recently. Congratulations, what a blessing. Here, Li Hong and the head of the Yin family happened to chat about Li Ju. Li Hong's face turned cold when he heard someone mention Li Ju. That made him make a fool of himself in the imperial capital's upper-class society. What's there to congratulate? Even though he thought so, he still smiled and said, no way. Hey, don't be modest. Yang met Lincoln Jin a few days ago and he was full of praise for her. Oh, is it so? Li Hong was really surprised. He didn't expect Li Ju to have met the young master of the Yin family. That's right, I must meet Lincoln Jin when I have the chance to see what kind of person can even the brat in my family admire. Li Hong was overjoyed, thinking that although Li Ju was an illegitimate daughter, if the young master of the Yin family fell in love with her, it would be a good idea to use her to get close to the Yin family. What a coincidence, she is here today, why don't you meet her? Okay. Li Hong led Yin Ling to Li Ju. Xiaju, this is the head of the Yin family. Please call me Uncle Yin. Li Ju was still sitting there, silent. Li Hong frowned and raised his voice, Xiaju. At this moment, the entire banquet hall's eyes were focused on him. Suddenly the whole place was silent. Then, everyone present heard Li Ju's shallow and steady breathing. Li Hong. And Ling. Everyone. Sleep, fell asleep. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 3. Chapter 3. You shouldn't come back. Li Hong's face instantly turned livid. Li Ju. The word means gnashing of teeth. This rebellious woman. Absolutely no etiquette. Li Ju's dark eyelashes trembled and she opened her eyes. A pair of clear, peach blossom eyes met Li Hong's extremely hard to see face. Is something wrong? She raised her eyebrows at Li Hong and her tone was very lazy. Although he wanted to slap Li Ju, Li Hong still tried hard to suppress the impulse in his heart. After all, this is Angia, and we cannot let outsiders laugh at us. Xiaju, today is your Grandpa An's birthday party, how can you sleep here, it's so rude. Li Hong squeezed out a stiff smile and said gently to Li Ju. Is there a rule against sleeping? Li Ju asked rhetorically. Li Hong's smile became stiffer. No. Then it's over. While Li Ju and Li Hong were talking, Enling was also looking at Li Ju. Very beautiful. This is Enling's first impression of Li Ju. Her skin is whiter than snow, and her appearance is stunning. The delicate peach blossom eyes are extremely attractive, with an imperceptible anger hidden under them, and the tear mole at the end of the eye adds a bit of enchantment. At this moment, she was looking at Li Hong, with a chilling feeling at the corner of her mouth. It's not simple. This girl, who is only 18 or 19 years old, has a restrained temperament, but she still cannot be underestimated. Even though it was just the first time they met, he clearly understood one thing. Li Ju cannot be offended. Enling glanced at Li Hong beside him, with a hint of doubt in his eyes. Is this Li Hong blind? He also knows the attitude of the Li family towards Li Ju. The scandal of the illegitimate daughter's arrival spread throughout the imperial capital. I heard that the head of the Li family disliked his daughter very much and refused to allow Li Ju to enter. In the end, it was Mr. Li who spoke and recognized his granddaughter. He kept her with him and lived with him in the old house. And the head of the Li family, Li Ju's biological father, had never cared about her at all. As if this daughter does not exist. It is said to the outside world that he has only one daughter. Enling glanced at Li Yun not far away again. Exquisite oval face, impeccable facial features, perfect makeup, and a gentle and elegant temperament. The most beautiful woman in the imperial capital is indeed well deserved. But now it seems. There is no comparison at all. Li Hong is so angry that his lungs are about to explode. This will embarrass him. If he had known, he should not have let her in the first place and let her die with her mother. Li Yun stood aside quietly, elegant and dignified, with the gloating in his eyes almost overflowing. He. Sleeping at Mr. N's birthday party. I think there will be another famous family who dares to want an illegitimate daughter like you who is not worthy of being on the stage in the future. What's wrong? A powerful voice sounded. Two figures came down from upstairs. It is Mr. Li and Mr. N. Li Ju stood up and rolled up the cuffs of his shirt, revealing his porcelain white skin. Really annoying. There was a lot of noise around her, like a swarm of flies surrounding her. Want to hit someone? It's nothing, it's just that it's too boring here. I accidentally fell asleep and made my father unhappy. Oh, asleep. Mr. Li raised his eyebrows and looked at Li Ju in surprise. This banquet hall is so noisy, how can she fall asleep? Mr. N laughed softly. You're still the same girl as before. As soon as these words came out, not only everyone, but also Mr. Li was stunned. Laoan, do you know Xiaju? This, when did it happen? Mr. N nodded. Well, we know each other, we've known each other for a long time. This girl is. Li Ju suddenly glanced at him, his expression was dull and his meaning was unclear. Mr. N immediately changed his subject, but you once did me a big favor. Everyone was shocked and had to look at Li Ju again. This illegitimate daughter actually knows Mr. N and has helped him. What is her background? Girl, since you think it's boring here, why not come with me to the study room? I have something to give you, Mr. N said again. Li Ju looked at Mr. Li. Go, go. Mr. Li waved his hand. Mr. N was surprised that he met Li Ju. But he also hoped that Li Ju could be on good terms with Mr. N. Li Ju nodded and followed Mr. N upstairs. Behind his back, Li Yun's eyes became sinister, his hands behind his back were clenched tightly, and his nails dug into his flesh. How does that know Mr. N? Angie's study room. Sit. Li Ju was not polite. He sat directly on the sofa, picked up a cup of tea, and began to look at the original works of famous artists hanging on the wall of the study. You shouldn't come back. Mr. N sat down opposite Li Ju with a serious tone. Li Ju took a sip of tea, letting the fragrance of tea fill his mouth, and raised a cold arc at the corner of his mouth. But I must come back. Come back, and make someone pay. This painting of yours is, not bad. After Li Ju left, Ling came to the study. He was a little confused about what happened today. Dad. Mr. N sighed. I know what you want to ask, but there are things you shouldn't know, so don't ask. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 4. I just remembered it after Chapter 4. Upon hearing this, Ling had no choice but to swallow his doubts and quietly exited the study. Suddenly, he saw the empty walls in the study room and was extremely shocked. What about the paintings on the wall? That is the old man's favorite authentic work. He can't even take a second look at it? Why is it gone? Although there are few people attending tonight's birthday banquet, they are all well-known figures in the circle. What Li Ju did today can be said to have caused Li Hong to lose face. Li's study room. Snap dash. Li Hong dropped a valuable vase to the ground. This rebellious girl, it makes me so angry. Li Hong was breathing heavily and his chest was heaving violently. He was obviously very angry. What do you do for a living? Didn't I tell you to take good care of her? Now, everyone in the imperial capital is watching our Li family's joke. Susu's face didn't look very good either. I didn't expect that she would actually fall asleep at the banquet. I haven't had a peaceful day since she came in. This rebellious girl is here to defeat me. Li Yun, who was sitting aside, was thoughtful and asked, Dad, how come my sister knows Mr. N? Have you ever helped him? When she mentioned this, Li Hong also remembered this matter. He had clearly investigated Li Ju before he came in. How could he know Mr. N if he was an orphan whose mother died? Susu snorted coldly, I think it's just bad luck that she got it. Otherwise, how could she have gotten into the N family? Okay, it's getting late, you go and have a rest first, Li Hong said. He still needs to investigate carefully about Li Ju and Mr. N. Over there. Li Ju opened the bedroom door, holding a strip-shaped object wrapped in black cloth in his left hand. She lowered her eyes and lifted the cloth, revealing the priceless and authentic work of Mr. N hanging on the wall. She just looked at it a few more times, and the old man took the painting off and gave it to her. Li Ju had a helpless smile in her eyes. She put the original work in the drawer and walked to the bed. A corner of the quilt was lifted, and it was still the same as before she left. No one has been here. She touched her pocket and tried to take out her phone, but found nothing. At this moment, I vaguely remembered that my mobile phone seemed to have been broken. She looked down and saw that the remains of the phone were still lying alone on the floor, unattended. Li Ju. Putting his slender hands on his fair forehead, he felt a little helpless. She walked to the desk and took out a black backpack. He took out a black mobile phone from his bag. Li Ju's clear eyes stared at this elderly machine. Hong Kong lips pursed slightly, feeling a little disgusted. Finally, she pressed a series of numbers. Hello. What did you tell me about before? The other person on the phone was stunned for a few seconds, as if he was trying to understand the meaning of the sentence. You're just asking me now. I just remembered. Just remembered. Think of it. The other end of the phone, I'm your sister. Take a few deep breaths and try to calm yourself down. What did you do when you went to the factory in the suburbs? Li Ju pondered for a moment and carefully recalled the situation that night. She just destroyed the factory, and then, seemed to save Rescued a little kitten. Little milk cat, your sister, little milk cat, that's a little girl. Oh. He's going to explode. Then what? And that little girl is now looking for you all over the world. Saving people and rescuing a loving sister, I really admire her. Isn't it okay to just follow the rules? Nonsense, don't I know? But. The man scratched his head and continued, but this time the situation is a bit special. Special? Well, it's the Liu family. Li Ju took out a lollipop, tore off the wrapper and put it into his mouth. A sweet taste spread. The man continued, you also know that the Liu family has some connections with the higher UPS, so it's hard to do anything about it. Li Ju sneered, when did the association's rules allow them to change them at will? I know that too, but the Liu family is a team, and our relationship with the first team is already tense. Now if we attack the Liu family, isn't it a slap in the face? Just a slap in the face, it's not the first time, why are you being cowardly? Hey, boss, have you forgotten that last time you were detained by the president for grabbing something from a team? Li Ju chewed the candy that was about to melt in his mouth bit by bit, making a crunching sound. She narrowed her eyes, say it again. No. Nothing. He felt that there was murderous intent in Li Ju's words just now. This time is different from last time. Even if we are a team, we must follow the rules. He thought for a moment and then said, don't you dare to take action. The man immediately said, how is it possible? How could I be afraid? That's weird. Who doesn't know that the people in the first team hold grudges the most? This time you are dead. Li Ju nodded, very good. Get the matter settled quickly. If it doesn't work, go to the mistress for help. After saying that, he hung up the phone. That person. Hang up on him again. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. Back to school. Early the next morning. Li Ju climbed out of the warm bed with difficulty, went to a nearby shopping mall, and bought a new mobile phone. As soon as I installed the mobile phone card and turned on the phone, a call came in. Hello. Sister Ju, where are you? It was a girl's voice, she sounded young. Li Ju narrowed his eyes. What did you call me? Ju, Master Ju. The voice on the other end of the phone became weaker. Well, be good. Master Ju, school starts today, when will you come back? Li Ju asked, will school start today? The other end of the phone. Imperial University, the first academic institution in the imperial capital, is a veritable aristocratic college. As soon as Li Ju entered the school gate, he got countless heads turning. However, the next second, some old students who saw her immediately lowered their heads and left quickly. It was as if he had seen a ghost. Only those freshmen who were shaken out of their souls by Li Ju's face remained in place. Wow, what a beauty! Who is she? Huh, what's going on with those old students? Huh? I seem to have seen her before. She is, the illegitimate daughter of the Li family. What's her name? Ah, yes. Li Ju. At this time, a new student said nonchalantly, Tisk, I thought it was some rich girl from some family. She had been doing it for a long time, but it was just a private matter, ugh. Before he could finish the last two words, his mouth was blocked by two old students who happened to be passing by. The two old students glanced in Li Ju's direction warily, and after confirming that she hadn't heard, they involuntarily breathed a sigh of relief. Then dragged the new student away at the same time. After walking far away, I vaguely heard the two old students saying fearfully, Brother, you are so brave. Hey, brother, I'm afraid you haven't been beaten before. Li Ju's mouth twitched. Is she that scary? Ha 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 ha, Lord Ju, your reputation is still as good as before. The gloating laughter sounded, and Li Ju raised his eyes. A girl with a bun on her head, about 17 or 18 years old, walked towards her. Back then, you beat up all the boys in the department and sent them to the hospital. Now they probably feel pain all over when they see you, Suke said. She still remembers the scene when this man killed everyone in the emperor's palace. He looked like a big ferocious beast. Even the principal was alarmed. They provoked me first, Li Ju said. She didn't get enough sleep, and she was very irritable. So she encountered some short-sighted people who provoked her, and the result was predictable. That group of people went to the hospital with bruises and swollen faces, but after they recovered from their injuries, they called all the boys in the department to block her. In the end, of course, she was asked to repackage it and send it back. Since then, her name has spread all over the Imperial University, and no one dares to provoke her anymore. Not surprisingly, she sat on the throne of the Imperial University. From time to time, people would come up to be her followers, and some would ask her for advice on fighting skills. What are the techniques for fighting? Wouldn't it be over if you just go up? Had she known that getting someone would cause so much trouble, she wouldn't have been so public about killing him. It's so good to be low-key and so pure. Okay, let's go to class soon, Li Ju said, not wanting to recall the impulsive move of the past. Suke's mouth twitched. Class. Master Ju, have you ever attended class? Which class are you not using to sleep? In fact, when Li Ju came to the Imperial University, it was Mr. Li who forced her into it. In the eyes of others, she is just a straw bag who uses the back door. So Li Ju played this role without any pressure and never attended a class. Even though today is the class of the famous Master Miu, even those dandies who usually just wait to die are pretending to listen carefully in her class. This Master Jaja has a bad temper. She doesn't care which family you belong to, and she is not afraid of offending anyone. After all, she has a good background. So as long as it is her class, no one dares to sleep casually. Of course, this no one does not include Li Ju. This school bully, Li Ju, who frightened countless students at Imperial University, brazenly slept from the first period to the last period. And the extermination master actually didn't care about her. After finally ringing the bell, Li Ju stretched, picked up his bag and was about to leave, when a person suddenly rushed in from outside the door. That's not good, Mr. Ju. Li Ju frowned. What's wrong? Suke on the side also said, Jochi, what happened? What's going on? Joki Theo, Wei, Sister Wei is in trouble in the East Alley. Li Ju's expression changed and he rushed out quickly. Jochi and Suke felt a gust of wind blowing in their ears, and in the blink of an eye not even a shadow was seen. Looking at each other, they also followed. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Faye. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. You are so arrogant. East Lane. When Li Ju arrived, several gangsters in slutty clothes were blocking a girl against the wall. One of the gangsters with yellow hair held a dagger in front of the girl. His face was ferocious and arrogant. From her angle, she could clearly see that one of the girl's sleeves was cut, and her delicate skin was exposed, with blood oozing out bit by bit, bright red and dazzling. Little girl, don't drink as a penalty if you don't drink the toast. It's your blessing that your brothers are interested in you. I advise you to be obedient, otherwise you will get some good results. Ha ha ha, that's right, little sister, how about playing with me for a while? I promise to make you feel comfortable. Lawful and evil words kept ringing out. Li Ju's face suddenly darkened, his aura was frightening, and a chill gradually grew in his eyes. She rushed forward and kicked the yellow-haired man on the wrist. Click. The sound of broken bones was heard. The yellow-haired man screamed in pain, and the dagger slipped from his hand. Li Ju turned around and looked at the girl in front of her. Except for her hair being a little messy, there was nothing wrong with her. It's September now, the weather is getting cooler, and this man is actually only wearing a thin white shirt dress. Li Ju's eyes became colder and colder. He took off his coat and covered her body. Then he pushed her towards Suke, who had just arrived. "Keep an eye on her," Li Ju said coldly. Chi Mao Yi was still annoyed that she was accidentally injured by this gangster. "I don't know when the reinforcements brought by that guy Zhou Qi will arrive. I was thinking that a good man would not suffer the immediate consequences, so I thought of a way to escape first." Who wants to see Li Ju looking at her with cold eyes in the next second? She was overjoyed, and just when she was about to speak, her eyes were covered by a piece of clothing. There is still someone's body temperature on the clothes, with a cool breath. Immediately afterwards, she was pushed into someone's arms. Then I heard Li Ju's three spine-chilling words. Chi Mao Yi shivered all over. "It's over, Ajiu is angry." "Oh my god, Sister Weiwei, you're hurt," Suke shouted in surprise. Chi Mao Yi pulled off the coat covering her head, put it on her body, and said to Suke calmly, "It's okay." She turned to look at Li Ju, and then she saw a scene that made the corners of her eyes twitch. Li Ju only used 3 moves to make the gangsters lie on the ground unable to move, wailing in pain. She picked up the dagger that had just fallen to the ground and walked towards the yellow-haired man. The yellow-haired man no longer had the arrogant expression just now, his eyes were full of fear and panic. "You, what are you going to do? Don't come over." "Maid, they just want to play with that woman." "Where did this person come from?" There was a chill between Li Ju's brows, a fierce light flashed in his eyes, and the corners of his lips were slightly raised. "You were, very arrogant just now." "No, no, don't, ah." The sharp dagger rotated rapidly between the 5 sharp-jointed fingers, leaving only after images. Then he thrust into the yellow-haired man's thigh, causing him to scream in pain. "Who do you want to play with, you, huh?" The dagger under his hand spun in a circle. The yellow-haired man fainted from the pain. "Useless." Li Ju glanced at the yellow-haired man with disgust, took out a handkerchief from his pocket, and wiped his hands. "It's like there's something dirty on your hands." The few gangsters around who couldn't get up were so frightened that they almost lost control when they saw the yellow-haired man's end. They all hid aside, not daring to make a sound. There was a siren in the distance, and I don't know who called the police. Everyone present was taken away. At the police station, Li Ju and Chi Mao Yi sat together. The policewomen in front of them looked at them with eyes full of pity. How could something like this happen to 2 such beautiful girls? Those people are really beasts, they can kill such a weak girl. And she completely forgot that it was the weak girl in front of her who beat the beasts in her mouth until they still woke up. Seeing the policewomen's eyes becoming more and more strange, it was as if something had happened to them. Li Ju coughed lightly and regained her sense. The policewoman glanced at them awkwardly and said, "Well, don't be afraid, I won't do anything to you, I just want to ask you a few questions." The tone was extremely cautious, for fear that if the tone was harsher, they would cry. Li Ju and Chi Mao Yi. In fact, they wanted to say something. "Police sister, you are too worried." People like them, who go to the police station just like going home, really don't have to worry. Finally, the policewomen finished asking the questions and left. Li Ju's cold eyes made Chi Mao Yi breathe a sigh of relief again. Ah, Ajiu. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 7. Chapter 7. Is anyone looking at her? Chi Mao Yi looked at Li Ju pitifully, her smart eyes covered with mist. "Don't do this, it won't work." Li Ju glanced at her. "This trick has been used since I was a child." After all these years, she still doesn't get tired of it. Chi Mao Yi twitched the corner of her mouth and stopped pretending. She leaned back and crossed her legs. A person who was weak 1 second will turn into a person with the temperament of a female bandit leader the next second. Oakily full. Li Ju silently looked at someone who let himself go. He really should have asked the policewoman just now to come back and see what the weak girl in her eyes was like. Tell me, what's going on? Chi Mao Yi curled her lips and said, today is the day when I get my driver's license, so I will. Wait, Li Ju interrupted Chi Mao Yi. Have you got your driver's license? Chi Mao Yi nodded. How is your coach? According to this girl's level, the day she got her driver's license was probably the day the coach died. Li Ju. Chi Mao Yi's eyes widened, filled with anger. Dai Jiu. What will happen if you don't confront her for a day? She rushed towards Li Ju like a wildcat with exploded fur. Li Ju stretched out a finger and poked her forehead, stopping her next movement. Chi Mao Yi was unconvinced and fluttered for a long time, but did not touch Li Ju at all. The little face is swollen, like a white and tender bun just out of the oven. Li Ju laughed in her heart, this girl is really cute. Think. She coughed slightly and leaned up. You go on. Chi Mao Yi snorted and continued, I asked Zhou Qi and the others to go to the bar to celebrate. Before we sat down to drink, those idiots came up and asked me to drink with them. Do you think I can bear it? Of course not, it wouldn't be me if I didn't beat them to the point of looking for their mother. Li Ju's eyes twitched and he exposed her mercilessly, really? With your three-legged cat skills. Chi Mao Yi smiled coquettishly, so I asked Zhou Qi to bring in reinforcements. Who would have thought that he would bring you here? It sounds like you don't want me to come. Chi Mao Yi immediately retorted, of course not, you don't know how happy I am to see you coming. In my eyes, you are the unparalleled hero riding on the colorful clouds to save me. Li Ju suddenly felt a little nauseous listening to her stupid words. Stop talking, I'm going to vomit. Chi Mao Yi sighed, what she said was true. Ever since she met Li Ju, every time she was in trouble, Li Ju would appear in time to save her. Isn't he her hero? Speaking of which, when did she and Li Ju meet? It seems I can't remember it clearly. It's been a long time anyway. By the way, have you told your family? Li Ju asked. Chi Mao Yi's expression froze, she seemed to have forgotten. Before going out, she said she was going to have dinner with her friends, but ended up eating at the police station. Chi Mao Yi took out her mobile phone and dialed her home phone number. As expected, the voice of the old housekeeper who was about to cry came from the other end of the phone. Chi Mao Yi. Then she spent more than 10 minutes explaining what happened to the housekeeper with her mouth dry. Okay, miss, I understand. Just wait a moment and I'll pick you up right away. Don't be afraid, the steward said. Chi Mao Yi hummed and hung up the phone. The housekeeper was very efficient and completed all the procedures in half an hour. When I came out of the police station, I saw a Rolls-Royce parked on the side of the road. The situation in the car cannot be clearly seen. Miss, please get in the car, the steward said. Ajiu, come up too, I'll take you home. Chi Mao Yi turned to Li Ju and invited her. No, I still have something to do, you go first. Li Ju waved her hand, raised her feet, turned around and left, her back looking extremely chic. Suddenly, her figure paused, and a feeling of being spied on rose from the solace of her feet. That gaze seemed to see through her disguise and see through everything. Li Ju's clear eyes were filled with coldness. He glanced around with sharp eyes, but found nothing out of the ordinary, and finally set his sights on the car not far away. Although the situation in the car cannot be clearly seen from the outside, a tall figure can still be recognized in the back seat. That gaze was retracted the moment Li Ju turned around, as if it had never appeared at all. But even so, She could still feel the danger mixed with it. Who is in the car? Li Ju's eyebrows were lowered, and her long curly eyelashes covered the dark light under her eyes. He glanced at the figure warily, then turned and left. Tisk, 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 Wai Wei, you are really good at it. How many times do you think this is the first time you have been in trouble? A teasing voice sounded. As soon as Chi Mao Yi opened the passenger door, she saw a man with an evil look and slutty clothes grinning and laughing at her mercilessly. Chi Mao Yi. It's so annoying. He closed the passenger door and opened the back seat door. Just as she was about to sit up and sit down, she heard a sound that made her legs weak and her spine shiver. A fight. Oh ho, Bala Law energy, change. The male protagonist is rough. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 8. Chapter 8. Does the third brother like Ajiu? The night falls and the stars are dotted. On the road with endless traffic, a black car was driving at a constant speed. Chi Mao Yi was about to cry but had no tears. Did she go out today without looking at the calendar? First she went to a bar to drink and was harassed, then she got injured and got into trouble, and now she even encountered this man whom she hadn't seen for half a month. 3. Third brother. Chi Mao Yi shouted in a timid tone. The man in front of him is extremely handsome, with fair complexion, long thick eyelashes that cast a shadow, a high bridge of nose, and thin lips. He is the most perfect work of God. The eyebrows and eyes were as sparse as the breeze and the moon, and the light gray phoenix eyes looked directly at her, making her heart tremble. The temperament of his whole body is like that of an immortal, cold and indifferent. Even so, Chi Mao Yi still felt a little numb. Although her third brother looks like a beautiful man, she really can't stand his terrifying aura. Chi Jinkai's indifferent gaze swept across Chi Mao Yi's arm. Injured? Chi Mao Yi nodded. It's useless. Chi Mao Yi wanted to cry. Third brother, you are too ruthless. Even Wai Wei is hurt and you still say that to her. Be careful that Grandpa Chi will scold you if he finds out. Dear little Wai Wei, would you like me to take a look at it for you, so as not to leave any sequelae? Lu Qinggran, who was sitting in the passenger seat, said coquettishly. Lu Qinggran, the eldest son of Lu, is currently the head of the Department of Surgery at Daijing First Hospital. He has excellent medical skills and is well known at home and abroad. But his temperament is not like that of a doctor, but more like that of a playboy. Chi Mao Yi gritted her teeth. No, need. Didn't this person go abroad to attend an academic conference? Why are you back so soon? Let me take a look, just in case. You don't have to worry about it. Oh, little Wai Wei, it's so sad for my brother to say that. Lu Qinggran said aggrievedly. Chi Mao Yi. Is this person's drama all over? Chi Jinkai glanced at Lu Qinggran, who immediately became serious. 3. Third brother. Well, why did you come to pick me up? Isn't he usually very busy? Passing by. Oh. Lu Qinggran, the co-pilot, started to say again, aren't you passing by? The third brother just got off work, but Grandpa Chi said that something happened to you, so he asked the third brother to come and pick you up. Hurry, he also called him up. He thought the girl had been seriously injured. The result was a cut on the arm, which had already been treated. This technique seems quite professional. Chi Mao Yi touched her nose, feeling guilty for no reason. I'm telling you, you're such a big man and you can still be bullied. It seems that third brother's training was not enough back then. Now you can't even defeat a few gangsters. It's really embarrassing for us Chi family members. Chi Mao Yi was shocked by this man's shamelessness. Lu Qinggran, can you please have some respect? Don't think that you are our family who always come to our house for dinner. Lu Qinggran smiled. Why am I no longer a member of the Chi family? Grandpa Chi has adopted me as his grandson. Speaking of which, you should call me brother and good sister. Who is your sister? You. Lu Qingran, are you asking your parents to recognize your relatives so randomly? Be careful that they don't recognize you. If you don't admit it, just don't admit it. Anyway, Grandpa Chi just needs to recognize me as his godson. Chi Mao Ei. I lost. This man has never lost when it comes to being shameless. Chi Jinkai pinched his eyebrows. The two men started fighting each other as soon as they met, which made him upset. If one of them is not of some use for the time being, the other is his sister and can be sold directly. Ah, by the way, Xiao Weiwei, who was that beautiful woman who was with you just now? Seeing Lu Qingran suddenly mention Li Ju, Chi Mao Ei showed a malicious smile. Why, you're attracted to it? Beauty. Ah. That is not an ordinary beauty. It's not me, it's your third brother. Chi Mao Ei instantly turned to look at Chi Jinkai, her eyes full of disbelief. Her third brother has taken a liking to Ajiu. How can it be? Everyone in the imperial capital circle knows that the third master of the Qi family can see the flowers of the high mountains from afar and cannot be profaned, and he does not approach women. Even the secretaries around me are men. Once a socialite accidentally touched his sleeve, and she cut it off on the spot. When I went back, I locked myself in the room and took a shower for 3 hours. Such a third brother, who avoids women like germs, fell on Ajiu. As a result, Chi Jinkai glanced at her coldly, slightly opened his thin lips, and uttered 2 words. Boring. As expected, he is still her noble and cool third brother. She just said, even if Ajiu's charm is indeed great, the possibility of her third brother falling in love with Ajiu at first sight is very small. Okay. It's all some guy who lied about military information. Chi Mao Ei glared at Lu Qingran fiercely. Lu Qingran looked at Chi Jinkai's pretentious look and snorted coldly. She didn't know who was the girl who just came out of the house with eyes that she wished she could look at. It wasn't until someone discovered it that he reluctantly looked away. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 9. Chapter 9. The woman 4 years ago. Her name is Li Ju, my friend Chi Mao Ei said. Why does this name sound so familiar? Lu Qingran thought about it carefully. The illegitimate daughter of the Li family. The one who even fell asleep in front of everyone at the An family birthday party. Chi Mao Ei choked. Ahem, well, Ajiu does have, special hobbies. Oh, really, she is really special. They all fell asleep at someone else's birthday party. Huh, why have I never heard of you having such a friend? Although that Li Ju is young, his temperament does not look like that of an ordinary person. Well. Chi Mao Ei curled her lips, opened her eyes and said nonsense, I met Ajiu when I was studying abroad. There is no other way, Ajiu seems to not want others to know what they have known each other since childhood, so they can only lie. Since she has so many friends abroad, no one will be suspicious. Well, I don't think she is an illegitimate daughter, let alone the daughter of that guy Li Hong. Chi Mao Ei was speechless. Can she say that she was also confused? It's just that we haven't contacted each other for a while, and then we realize that the world has changed. Her good sister quietly became the illegitimate daughter of the Li family. Who would have known that when she heard the news, her jaw hit the ground. After sending Chi Mao Ei back to her old house, Chi Jinkai left. There is still some unfinished work today. On the way back, Lu Qingran was driving, and Chi Jinkai was still sitting in the back seat, unchanged. Investigate that Li Ju, Chi Jinkai suddenly said. The light gray eyes stared at the receding scene outside the window, and there seemed to be an undercurrent surging in the eyes. Lu Qingran looked at him through the rearview mirror and couldn't help but ask, "What's going on, third brother? You don't really have a crush on that illegitimate daughter, do you? Something has been wrong with him from just now until now." Qi Jinkai leaned on the back of his seat, his cold eyes gradually becoming darker, making it difficult to see what he was thinking. Obviously he was sitting there, but Lu Qingran suddenly felt that he was so far away. "It's just, I think she looks a little familiar." "She looks familiar," Lu Qingran said in surprise. "Third brother, you haven't seen her before, how come you think she looks familiar?" Qi Jinkai narrowed his eyes and said, "I think she looks a bit like the woman 4 years ago." The voice is indifferent, with an air of elusiveness. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Qingran was so frightened that he almost stepped on the brake instead of the accelerator. Hands were firmly clasped on the steering wheel, suppressing the excitement in his heart. "Third brother, please don't be scary. Is she the same woman 4 years ago?" Lu Qingran was so frightened that her voice changed. "That woman. They have been looking for her for 4 years and there has been no news. How could she appear out of nowhere? It just feels like it, but it shouldn't be. Definitely not. I heard that Li Ju is only 20 years old this year. How old was she only 4 years ago? How could it be her? That woman looked to be in her 20s at that time." After saying that, he looked at Qi Jinkai cautiously. "No. Third brother, I've been looking for it for 4 years. Maybe that woman would have been." Lu Qingran didn't say the following words, but the meaning was self-evident. At that time, not many people escaped from that place. Maybe she had died long ago, but her third brother didn't believe in evil and persisted in looking for her for 4 years. Hearing this, Qi Jinkai's eyes were immediately covered with a layer of ice, and the air pressure around his body dropped to the extreme. "Look for it, I haven't thanked her properly yet." Lu Qing then broke out in a cold sweat. "In my heart, I couldn't help but light a candle for the woman who offended Qi Jinkai 4 years ago. That woman is really a talent. Back then, the third brother and the others had to waste all their efforts to get that thing, but she actually took advantage of the third brother's serious injury and came with a aureole behind, task task tisk. The third brother has never been so miserable in his life." Lu Qingran glanced at Qi Jinkai, whose face was so dark that he could drip ink. "I hope that after finding that woman, she can keep her body intact." A sneeze. Li Ju sneezed unexpectedly. Touched the tip of his nose, looked at the clinic in front of him, and twitched the corners of his mouth. "Push the door open and walk in. There is no one in the clinic. Only the coffee on the desk is still steaming." Suddenly, a familiar cold fragrance came from behind. "Why did you think of coming to my place today?" The voice is soft and pleasant. Li Ju turned around and looked. A pair of red phoenix eyes and two curved willow leaf eyebrows. She has white skin and beautiful appearance, with forward and upward curves. Is the ideal type in most men's minds. The temperament is elegant and tranquil, like an orchid in an empty valley. Wearing a white coat and high heels about 10 centimeters tall, he is almost 185. Li Ju stepped back a little, feeling offended. "Although I am also 1.7 meters tall, why am I still half a head shorter than this guy? This guy grew up taking hormones." End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 10. Chapter 10, Grabbing a Family Property or Something. Ji Yunchu walked to the desk, picked up the coffee, and took a sip. He looked at her with a faint smile in his eyes. "What do you want from me?" Li Ju said, "Your medicine seems to have failed." Ji Yunchu was stunned for a moment, a little surprised. "So fast?" Li Ju nodded. "I've been feeling particularly sleepy lately." Ji Yunchu frowned, his expression suddenly ugly. "It seems like your situation is getting worse. Now even drug suppression is useless." She sighed and said, "I'll think of other ways, but you also know that you are really difficult to handle. How about? She glanced at Li Ju and said, you'd better go back. Impossible. But you also know that since those old men have kept the matter in their stomachs, they will definitely not say it again. I have my own way. Ji Yuncha shook his head. This man was really stubborn. By the way, I'll sleep at your place today. Ji Yuncha's expression immediately froze. You're not going back to Li's house, isn't your grandpa worried? Li Ju shook the phone in her hand at her and smiled. I've already told him that my father has been at the old house these days. He doesn't want to see me. I feel annoyed when I see him, so I hide outside for 2 days. Speaking, he walked towards the second floor. The second floor of the clinic is the bedroom. Since patients often come to see the doctor, Ji Yuncha basically lives in the clinic. But I don't have any spare guest rooms here. Hey, I'm a misophobic, don't let me enter my bedroom, don't. Before he finished speaking, the bedroom door slammed shut. Ji Yuncha was speechless. This man was really not polite at all. According to Li Ju's temper, he would definitely not share a bed with anyone else. Have to. She will sleep on the sofa tonight. Li Ju ignored Ji Yuncha's frustrated expression outside the door and threw himself directly on the soft big bed. He buried his fair little face in the pillow and rubbed it back and forth. Well, I got up too early this morning. The teacher's lecture was too loud during the day, so I didn't sleep well. You can have a good sleep now. Suddenly, the phone in my pocket vibrated several times. Take out your phone and click on WeChat. Group chat, a group of troubles. There is an unread message. Boss, 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 someone is investigating you. Li Ju woke up a lot in an instant. Who? Xiaosan, your cheap dad. Li Hong? Li Ju raised his eyebrows. Why did he suddenly investigate her again? Are you sure you can make up my identity? Xiaosan, of course. 9. Just don't let others see your flaws, it doesn't have to be too outrageous. Mistress, don't worry, I guarantee that there is no flaw in your identity. Others will definitely think that you are just an illegitimate daughter who has a miserable life experience and is unwilling to be mediocre. She uses all means to climb up at all costs and wants to seize the Li family's property. Have you seen anything strange recently? Novel, Guide the way new work. The counter-attack of the female supporting character. Li Ju put her palm on her forehead. Can this person be more reliable? As long as you have a sense of proportion. Xiao-san, just be at ease. By the way, boss, are you really not interested in grabbing the Li family's property? After all, they are also the top wealthy families in the empire. They are really rich and unparalleled. Are you not tempted? Not interested. Xiaosan, are you not interested in money either? Have you forgotten that the boss is not interested in anything except sleeping? I am not short of money. Xiao-san, farewell. After a moment of silence, another message suddenly popped up. I will be going back in a few days. Do any of you want to pick me up at the airport? Xiaosan, I won't go. A Lu same as above. A Shi add 1. Add 2. A Chi, add 3. You heartless bunch, it's in vain that I spent time abroad cleaning up your mess for you, boss. What about you? 9. I have to sleep, I don't have time. Alu. Achi. It turns out that in your heart, I am worse than sleeping. Boss, you are so heartless, you look like a scumbag. Crying.jpg. Het. Scumbag. The group was silent for a few seconds. Then. Lao Si has been removed from the group chat by the group owner. A good boy can't stay up late, so I went to bed. Alu, I'm going to read the script. I'm going to write the lyrics. Emonial in the matter, good night, boss. Looking at the group that was quiet for a second, Li Ju sneered. A bunch of bastards. I have to say that the fourth child is really good at doing things. End of this chapter.